"What did you do to my car?" That's what she screamed right there, in front of my shop, with the cop standing 5 feet away and her eyes locked on her Tesla like I just rode it into a lake. Her name's Helen Carrington, president of the local HOA, self-declared queen of the subdivision next door, and possibly the most entitled human being I've ever had the pleasure of not inviting into my life. But before we get to the meltdown, let me rewind and tell you how a woman with a clipboard and a superiority complex ended up losing a very expensive game of chicken with the wrong Marine. So my name's Tommy Rains. Folks around here call me Tank. I run a small welding and fabrication shop on 2 acres of land that's been in my family since 1947. My grandfather bought it with his GI Bill after World War II, built the first version of the shop with his own hands, and passed it down to my dad, who passed it to me after my 3rd deployment. I've worked on everything from busted farm gates to custom iron sculptures, and it's always been honest, clean work. Never imagined I'd be fighting zoning boards and HOA currents just to hang on to the land my family built from that. But about a decade ago, some developers threw up a luxury neighborhood called Golden Meadows right next to our property. Gated driveways, fake lakes, houses that all look like they were copy-pasted from a brochure. And with them came Helen. She moved in, took over the HOA like she was elected president of an actual country, and decided that my existence was an eyesore. Over the years, she filed noise complaints, tried to get the county to revoke my permits, even once sent a cease and desist letter over the unapproved color of my tool shed, which, by the way, is on my land, not hers. I mostly ignored her. She was annoying, sure, but I figured she'd get bored eventually. Spoiler alert, she didn't. One Tuesday morning, I'm out back helping my buddy Jake, another Marine vet, with his truck when Helen shows up unannounced. White Tesla gleaming like a showroom trophy, sunglasses too big for her face, and that same expression like she just smelled something offensive. She walks up, ignores Jake entirely, and goes, "Mr. Rains, I think it's time we have an adult conversation about your little operation." I wiped my hands, gave her my best neutral face, and she hit me with "It says my shop is damaging community property values, and she's prepared to offer triple the appraised value for a smooth transition." I almost choked. "Triple? Lady, this land's not for sale. Not now, not ever." I told her exactly that this land's been in my family longer than her subdivisions existed, and her face. Instant frostbite. She gives me this tight smile and says, "Uncooperative neighbors tend to find life gets difficult." And then, in the same breath, she shifts gears, starts talking about her Tesla, how her late husband bought it for her before he passed, how it's the last thing he gave her, how the scratches on the doors break her heart. She runs her hand over the paint like she's petting a ghost. For a second, I actually felt a little sorry for her. Laws does things to people. But then she says, "Why don't you fix it just as a neighborly gesture while you reconsider my offer?" Before I could respond, she pulls out this folded sheet, signs it in front of me, and leaves it on the workbench. "Free service," it says, "completed in 24 hours. Then she hops into her other car, some luxury BMW, and drives off like she's just sealed a deal. Now listen. I've seen this play before. I had a brother in North Carolina who got caught in the same trap. Wealthy customer drops off a car, signs some vague service order, then calls the cops claiming theft when it's not returned on their imaginary schedule. It's a trick, a legal snare to make it look like you stole their car. That guy lost his shop, got buried in court fees, and had to sell his equipment just to stay out of jail. But I'm not that guy. I documented everything. Took photos of the form, security cam footage, full audio, even checked the ink wasn't smudged. If Helen was setting a trap, I was going to spring it right back. Next morning, just like I knew she would, she pulls up with 2 squad cars behind her. Officers get out, hands on hips, looking like they'd been promised some kind of chop shop bust. Helen throws herself into a performance full Broadway. He's holding my Tesla hostage, she yells. It's my dead husband's. He's threatening to destroy our memories. One of the officers, Brooks' local guy, comes over. Tank, he sighs, like we've already been here before. You got anything to say about this? I hand him the contract. Then I show him the video. Her signing it. Her saying the words no charge. Her walking away, smiling like a snake who thinks it's just swallowed a rabbit. Brooks watches the whole thing, then turns to Helen and says, Ma'am, this is a civil matter. Looks like you signed for free service due in 24 hours. Her face priceless. But now comes my favorite part. She said 24 hours. So I decided to honor the contract to the letter. I spent the next few hours building what I like to call the Tesla safe box. Fully welded, reinforced steel frame, designed around the car with zero contact to the paint. Looked like something out of Mad Max. I even slapped a sign on the front, emergency service in progress, completion at 9:47 am, per customer request. Then I packed up my gear and went camping. No phone, no signal, no noise. Just me, a lake, some bacon, and the knowledge that Helen was probably calling every lawyer in a tri-county radius losing her mind. When I came back the next day, 24 hours and change later, she was packed outside in the BMW, surrounded by coffee cups and takeout bags, looking like a raccoon that had lost its nest. The moment I pulled in, she was out of the car, shouting about lawsuits, reputations, how she'd never be able to show her face at HOA meetings again. I smiled, nodded, and handed her the invoice. Emergency service, $900. Premium steel and labor, $200. Total, $1,100. Payable in cash or certified check. She turned beet red. For what? You caged my car like an animal. No, ma'am, I said. I provided 24-hour emergency security as requested. Your Tesla is perfectly safe, no damage, and now officially released. She tried to argue with Brooks again, who, by the way, came back just to watch the ending, and he just shrugged and said, You signed it, lady. In the end, she paid in cash, I cut the last weld, and her Tesla rode out good as new. Then, and I swear this is true, she clipped her neighbor's mailbox on the way out. I turned to Brooks and said, And that is why you don't mess with a man who owns a welder and a fishing rod. So now I'm asking you, was I petty? Or was I just giving her the customer service she asked for? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I know some of you got HOA horror stories to match this one, and I'm all ears.